One of the kind of continuous strong points in my life has been Ann, my wife. We've been together for 53 years, coming on 54, married. A year or so before that, we were together. So we spent a long time together. And we got together, believe it or not, in a rat lab at university, Kansas State University. She was a graduate student working for a guy who was doing learning studies of rats in mazes, literally. And so she, as a graduate student, was running those rats. And so she was in one part of the lab. I was in a whole other part of the lab where we were doing brain things. And I was vaguely aware that she existed. But over time, my marriage at the time broke down and things went along, and my friends decided that we should maybe be together. They started kind of pushing us together. My friends in the rat lab area too. And so we eventually did get to know each other and got together and got married. And so she's seen me through graduate school, through Vietnam, through professorship, she was a partner in the mental health business, and to now, when we're partners in being retired. All that time, she's been a very strong ally and support along the way. And particularly now, when we're older, now I've had some problems with the hip and things and back, and she just picks up and does the firewood or whatever. So that's one of the important points, I think, for me in my life, is just that continuity. Her looks, probably first and foremost, but also the fact that she was knowledgeable about rats and learning theory and all that. She was a top-notch student. She had a scholarship all 4 years as an undergraduate and then had a fellowship in graduate school. So what attracted to me to her was all those things, but also just that she was a nice person. So one of the things about my alliance with Ann is we produced Jason, which is another important long-term relationship in my life, because he has been a primary participant and support in all the music that I've done, both in playing drums, recording it, you name it. He's a participant and continues to be to this day. And so my alliance with Ann produced my alliance with Jason. And I joke that I had to produce my own drummer because drummers are so hard to come by in this world. Okay, that's an interesting one because her father had the flu in 1918, and it affected his cardiac function to some degree, and later he also had diabetes, and so he died when she was 12, and so she had a much older brother and sister, like 12 years older than her. And so they were more like parents than brothers and sisters. And so also at an early age, her mother's mother moved in to the family. The grandfather died, and so the grandmother moved in. And in those days, if you didn't have any money, you were kind of screwed because there was no financial support for you anywhere. So in those days, families took in the older people a lot of times, and that's what happened. That she cooked and cleaned and participated up to a very older age. But more importantly, she and Ann shared a bedroom for some time, and so they really got to know each other. And that's been a really powerful part of Ann's life because she heard all the stories about her grandmother's life. My grandmother lost her husband in 1932 during the Depression of dust pneumonia. And so she took over a family with a 12-year-old, which was my mother, and about a 6 and a 2-year-old or something like that, and proceeded to raise them by herself, which is impressive. Talk about a strong woman. She did it. And my other grandmother on my father's side died of the flu in 1919, I think. And he remarried a woman that had several kids, and he had several kids, and they had a giant family of 12 or 13 or something. And they raised them fine. You know. I've had 2 marriages. First with Kate was excellent, but we got together way too early. And so neither of us had enough life experience to be in a marriage at that point in time. By the time Anna was married briefly before we were long, a year or two before we met, and she left that marriage because it was not working out. So she was strong enough to do that first of all, but not pay a big price for it. And so living with her, I've learned early on we could have fun together. We could laugh and so forth. We could also communicate. And so I think being with her has learned what I've learned, what she's taught me is how to maintain a relationship over a really long time. Because that's not easy. You change a lot in 50 or 60 years. And that's what wrecked my first marriage is we both changed too much too fast in a few years. But in this marriage, we've allowed each other to change because I think we've known that's the way it works. And Anne's a spiritual person, and that helps because she then has some balance in that regard. So, all in all, she's taught me that a long-term marriage can be a really good thing. Yeah, my relationship with music is like a long-term marriage. It takes a commitment to learn to play and sing and write and record and so forth, all the things that a musician has to do. And then you're going through your life as well. So you're going through your changes and your different perspectives on what's happening in your life this decade as opposed to last or the one before that or something. So yeah, it is like a marriage because you're committed to it and you're developing it, and you can look back and see where you've been, and you can feel where you are, and you can kind of guide where you want to go with music or with a marriage, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, in any marriage, there are the pivotal moments are, first of all, the commitment to do the marriage, and then usually how are we going to make a living, and then, we should have children. We're at the age we have to have children, and then we have to have a house and so forth. Well, we didn't necessarily go through that kind of, we didn't have a normal development because we got married. I went directly onto active duty for 2 years. Then we came to Canada when I was in the Army and had to be by herself basically, and while I was gone, and that takes a lot of strength. And then we came here, going to a different country. Most Americans can't even think about that. They wouldn't have a way of understanding that they should go to another country. A few did during the 60s and 70s. But she was, I guess, tired of the politics, which seemed bad then. Now they're horrible. They're 1,000 times worse. So it was pivotal that we survived the Army. It was pivotal that we came to Canada. I think getting her nursing degree changed her, made her a lot more powerful. Becoming a mother changes all women, makes them more powerful. Working in mental health for 25, 30 years makes you more powerful. And so she's just a person that's become more and more powerful in her own way. but in a very positive way.
Each life's a beacon in the night.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's take music. In my case, I had a lot of false starts. You know, I played clarinet in elementary school, and I sort of learned to play guitar a little bit when I was in Lethbridge. And then by then I was 30 years old. And I wasn't writing or singing or any of those things during those years. And so when the bug hit, in a sense, when I realized, I guess before I moved from Lethbridge, I was writing songs. When I realized I needed to write songs, and there were songs in there that needed to be written, then that becomes the allure, in a sense, to do more. But if you're going to do more, you better learn to play better if you're going to do something. So I had to learn to play a little bit better. I've never been a great guitar player, started too late. And I play better now than ever, I guess, but yet my arthritis is getting me. So somewhere along there, I think it was the songwriting, playing, not even performing, but recording, that pulled me into the marriage with music.
Will has to lead through desire, and the heart has to balance all that fire, while spirit must endeavor how to play it.
If you write something and you play it, it's a whole process that goes through you and out, and it's interesting because it produces some kind of emotional processing, emotional healing in many cases. You know that you can write a song about your wife left you and your dog went with her, sort of thing. And you can work out some of that grief by writing a song about it. So I like that part of songwriting. I liked playing music with other people, like band, but I hate being in a cover band. I don't hate cover bands. I love them. I love going to a cover band and dance or whatever. But for me, it just, I don't like it at all. But if I can play my own music, that's a different thing. Or participate. If you're a writer and we play a lot together, then joint project, that's good. But cover bands and cover songs, I've never been interested in.
So when you refer to other songwriters, who do you
Almost any songwriter, but anybody from Dylan on down, how they write and what they write about is interesting. But I find that I write about what comes out. For several days here, I've been trying to get a song recorded, but yet every time I sit down to do it, another song has, I sit down, I'm going to play it, get tuned up, I'm going to record this, and then I end up writing another song. And that happens fairly often, at least sometimes, that, the song just is there and ready to go, and out it comes. The big wheel in music in my part of the world when I was a kid was Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. And have you heard of them?
somewhere along the way, but I haven't heard
Well,
the music.
they're an amazing country band, a real country band with the steel guitar and the twangy voices and so forth. But they were very well known in the Texas Panhandle in the 50s, maybe even in the 40s, I don't know. and they would go and play dances. And so a couple of times my dad and uncles took me when they went to such dances. They just go see what they're like, or I don't know what they were doing, drinking, but I saw him kind of live at a distance in dance halls a couple of times. But he was on the radio all the time. And so he wrote about country things. And so I think I had my first realization that music was telling a story was with Bob Wills and those kind of bands.
Did the music itself resonate with you?
Yeah.
You liked it?
I liked it.
Is it influenced your music today?
I don't know. I'd like to have a steel guitar, but I wouldn't be able to play it. I bought one not too long ago and refurbished it, but it didn't have the pedals, and I found it cost a fortune just to replace the strings. It had like 15 strings or 20 strings or something.
Sorry,
I love the sound of them. Oh, sorry, yes.
I'll kill that. It's going to get chilly, and I'll remember to turn it on again.
Oh, that's okay.
Hopefully this time.
So Bob Wills, that was the heart of country music, even now in some ways, is the steel guitar. It gives it the sad, twangy feel. And I like that, but I felt that I got at a point in my life, and maybe in my late teens, where, oh no, that's country music. And so it took me a while to get back to appreciating how original some of that country music is.
Do you have a resonator?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I do, and I
It's not steel guitar,
I have a lap
it's
steel.
halfway, right?
I have a lap steel, and it appears on several of my songs, but it doesn't. The way I've been able to use it isn't very country. I've been wanting to get it out and put it on a couple of songs I'm working on, and it's not an easy thing to get a good sound, a steel guitar sound.
Yeah.
But I love it.
On the brightest day, in the darkest night, cannot find your way, cannot see the light, 'cause you're running almost blind, and you're leaving your past behind.
The way I often write, and it's a bit standard, is I usually write a verse and then a chorus. And then the verse might have 2 or 4 or 6 lines, and the chorus might have the same. But then, so you play this chord, and it evokes this feeling, but where do the words come from? Everybody seems to worry about how they spend their time. Should they slow down? Should they hurry? Or should they make another margarita with salt and lime? And so that's the verse. Where the hell would that come from? The other song is a little clearer. I think we all worry about the environment. So on January 22nd, not very long ago, I wrote this song, and again, it started with, I'd call it a riff. Chords played in a certain way. And then, that's okay, it made a nice line, a run. But then where do these words come from? There's a valley deep and wide where the river runs through. There's a place we used to hide, just me and you, where the many sounds of life abound in that tranquil space, and all the hurts and stresses we found we could just erase, let them sink into the ground, go all around and leave our face. And somehow in the passing years the river turned brown in the place we used to hide. All the trees are cut down, where the many sounds that did abound in this tranquil space, and all the hurts and stores and stress we found we could not erase. They could not sink into the ground, go all around and leave our face. So I guess I worry about, I don't know if worry, but I write about things that are not just pressing me, but pressing mankind. For me, maybe in the grand scheme of things over the many years, it documents my changes or my understandings of life and myself. And if anybody else can benefit from those, it'd be great. But in this day, although there's lots of media, there's no way of presenting it to very many people. And the accumulation of all that is even more satisfying, because now I can go and look at 25 albums worth of stuff, and then I can feel, the growth that's taken place, or maybe feel a little bit of what I've tried to express. It's significant to me. I guess you can measure your life in a variety of ways. You can measure it in how long you live. You can measure it in how much money you have. You can measure it in many different ways. But for me, I survived my childhood. I spent lots of years at university, got a PhD. And I was an officer. I was a professor. I was an independent psychologist. All those things that I'm mentioning are important stages or accomplishments or something for me, because it each involved a heck of a lot of work. And so my music is the next one I'd add to the list, and writing. We haven't talked much about that, but the music has become a body of work, which I never expected. You do one album or one song, and then another, and 40 years later, you've got a whole bunch of work. So if you can keep yourself alive and healthy and creative, that's the big thing. I think right now it's hard for anybody who's doing creative stuff to stay away from the pandemic and the rise of Nazism in the world and all those things. They demand that somebody write about them, and I think transform them into something else, transform that energy. And I can only produce what I can produce. I'd like to produce something different and, whatever, but what comes out of me is what comes out, and I have to just capture that. I'd like it to be happier, nice, fun music, but it's hard to pull that music out of you. It's not appropriate almost, See, popular music, has mainly been about love and relationships and broken relationships and who left who. That's been a lot of music. For anybody who's been in music very long, we've gone through all that, except the vacuum tube never went away in a way, but the transistor produced all these instruments you can see all around us that do things with sound. And so then it allows you to write very different music. So at times I've been kind of led into that, like the project I did earlier on, the night gallery project with Allison, caused me to go. I tried to use every musical instrument in the studio and several of the amps, and it reminded me that the horizon is so big that you can't find it. It's all out there. You can keep going, and I've got all kinds of didgeridoos or all kinds of other instruments that I can go into in terms of doing music. And I'd love to do it, but I'm stuck in guitars for a little while. But that's the other thing about at least what I've done is over time I have cycled those kind of instruments through my music, but they haven't become predominant. I can't get away from this Strat in a way. It's what I write on and what I play on. When Jason was growing up, he loved Elvis, and we had all kinds of Elvis around. But at some point, he just went from Elvis to whatever is current. When he hit when he was listening to the big world rather than what we had in our library. But I think we all grow up listening to something more predominantly than other things usually. Maybe the family likes country music, or you go on a trip and you listen to pop music and like it, or I don't know what. But music is specialized now, and it's hard to get out of it.